In this video, I will talk about a type of sport that really helps anxious people. With its help, you will reduce your anxiety and recover from anxiety disorder faster. But after I tell you what kind of sport it is, you must not drop everything and start doing it right away, because you may make 3 mistakes that will worsen your condition and, on the contrary, delay your recovery from anxiety disorder. So I ask you to watch this video until the end. My name is Pavel Zhavnerov, and I'm a clinical psychologist specializing in anxiety disorders. Going to fitness classes or the gym is contraindicated for most anxious people. When an ordinary person comes to the gym during physical exercise, they feel a slight increased heartbeat, a faster pulse, muscle tone, and possibly even slight sweating. For them, these are completely normal sensation and a natural state of the body during physical activity. But when an anxious person goes to the gym, everything starts even before the workout itself. Even before going there, they begin to worry about how they will feel there. Because of these worries, their nervous system is already in an excited state. And when they arrive at the gym, even from ordinary or light physical exercise, they begin to feel strong symptoms: a sudden rapid heartbeat, spikes in blood pressure, tension in the body, and a fast pulse. Slight dizziness and feeling of disorientation may also appear. These symptoms are intensified by what it is called secondary anxiety, anxiety about the symptoms themselves. A person starts thinking, I'm in the gym right now, there are lots of people around. What if these symptoms get stronger now? What if people notice it? What if they think badly of me? What if I collapse right here from a heart attack, a stroke, or lose consciousness? So when we talk about heavy physical exercise, for anxious people, it often turns out not to be a way of calm down, but an additional trigger. This trigger can provoke strong anxiety and worsen their overall well-being. Even in my own practice, when people come to me, we quite often have to work through situations specifically related to physical activity and going to the gym. Sometimes people even worry about ordinary household effort. For example, someone may be afraid to simply go outside and shovel snow because they worry that the effort will raise their pulse, increase their heartbeat, and make them feel unwell. So in this respect, heavy physical exercise more often becomes a source of additional worries for anxious people than a way to calm down, reduce anxiety, and recover from anxiety disorder faster. The second extreme in anxiety is no exercise at all or only walking. Many people come to a logical conclusion: if I get anxious from any physical activity, it excites my nervous system, causes symptoms, and I start worrying about them. This puts me into a state of inner chaos and heightened anxiety. So it seems better to exclude physical activity altogether. On the one hand, that sounds logical, but in the long run, this approach actually makes us feel worse. The thing is, our body lives by the principle of use it or lose it. There is a certain principle in how systems function. There are two types of systems: technical and biological. Technical systems are, for example, a vacuum cleaner, while biological systems are our bodies. There is a good phrase that describes the difference between the systems. For technical systems, the principle sounds like this: use it and throw it away. For example, a vacuum cleaner. You buy it, use it, use it, use it, and over time it starts working worse. At some point it breaks down and then we simply throw it away. In other words, use it and throw it away. But for biological systems such as our body, the principle is completely different. Use it or lose it. If we use the body and give it a load, it becomes stronger exactly in the direction of that load. Muscles become stronger and more enduring, and the nervous system adapts to the strain. For example, a person who runs professionally will not experience a major increase of pulse while running, but if an ordinary person person tries to run at the same pace, their pulse will go through the roof. So the principle here is simple. Your task is to give the body a load, otherwise it gradually starts to atrophy. If the body does not use certain muscles, it reduces their volume and cuts back the resources spending on them. As a result, the body begins, so to speak, to take strength and energy away from itself, and the physical state does not improve but get worse. That is exactly why any people experience stronger symptoms when there is almost no physical activity in their life. Their body is simply not prepared for physical action. And when at some point they suddenly have to do something physical, for example, move a wardrobe, a vacuum the house, or simply move intensively, they feel a strong surge of symptoms. This happens because the body is simply not adapted to physical strain. Some people begin to avoid physical activity completely and switch only to stretching or, for example, yoga. Stretching by itself is good, but it should be an addition to physical exercise. Another common alternative is walking. People walk their 10,000 steps and think that is a full replacement for sport. But in reality, walking is just a process in which we lose balance and then restore it. Every step is a movement of the body out of balance, followed by restoring that balance when you place your foot down. Your body has been walking all its life. It has learned to do this with almost no energy expenditure. So a large amount of walking has very little effect on overall physical condition, because it does not go beyond the normal daily functioning of the body. I even had an interesting case in my practice. A woman came to me with an anxious state and complaints of severe pain in her forearms. Her arms hurt and she decided to act in the following way. If my arms hurt, then I needed to exclude any load. She stopped carrying anything and stopped doing any actions that involved her arms. At some point, she completely stopped any physical load on them. And what do you think happened to the pain? It got worse. That happened because the muscles became weaker, started to atrophy, and nervous tension began to show up even more strongly in those areas, in the form of muscle tightness and pain. The solution was to bring load back to her arms, but this was no longer just walking, it was exercises, push-ups, pull-ups, and other movements that involve full muscular work. Of course, at first, because there had been no load, the pain even becomes slightly stronger. But after about a week, when the muscles recovered and regained their tone, the pain went away very quickly. So it is important to understand, no load or a very minimal load makes the body weaker and at the same time more sensitive to any physical activity. And if at some point you have to make an effort, turn quickly, lift something, help someone carry things, or simply carry heavy bags, this can strongly affect your physical well-being. Against this background, sudden spikes of symptoms may appear on a physical level. In this way, a person's strengthness is the instability of the nervous systems themselves, because they do not give the body the necessary load and do not keep it toned. So this path, avoiding physical activity, is quite common, but in the long run it only makes a person feel worse and increases anxiety. If you want to reduce your anxiety as quickly as possible, watch my free video course 5 steps. The link is in the description below this video. Here is the kind of sport that ideal for anxious people. So we have said that if there are strong physical loads, such as in the gym, this leads to a surge of symptoms and increased anxiety. If there is no exercise at all, or if it is only walking, that does not develop the body in any way, the muscles begin to atrophy in the long term. This worsens well-being, and any physical activity start causing a strong flare-up of symptoms. So the ideal situation will be to find a sport that gives the whole body a load, but where that load is not so strong that it provokes pronounced symptoms. In other words, the load is present, but it almost feels like it is not there. And in this case, the ideal option becomes swimming. During swimming, almost all the muscles in the body are engaged, especially the small muscles that most often go into muscle tightness because of heightened anxiety. Swimming is an environment where even by simply being in the water, you engage all the muscles of your body. They begin to work actively, and this gradually relieves muscle tightness, removes excess tension, and reduces muscle hypertonicity caused by increasing anxiety. At the same time, the load is distributed throughout the whole body, not just the legs or only the arms. That is why such strong heartbeat does not occur as it does with intense exercise. You can swim in any comfortable way. As you swim, your pulse will be increased slightly because of the physical activity. But this is not a sharp, sudden load, it is smooth and prolonged. In essence, swimming can be called a combination of cardio and physical exercise. It is cardio because you are constantly moving. You need to stay afloat and your muscle works continuously. The physical load arises because of the resistance of the water. Water creates natural resistance, so the muscles work harder than they would with the same movements in the air. When you swim, you engage all muscle groups, relieve muscle tightness, and at the same time do it at a comfortable pace. Because of this, there are no sudden spikes in heartbeat, severe dizziness, or other unpleasant symptoms. If we look at the format of the sport itself, everything is arranged in a fairly calm and safe way. You come to the pool, get into your lane, and start swimming back and forth, covering distances. At the same time, your body is under the water and almost nothing about you is visible. At any moment, you can touch the bottom with your feet. There are other people nearby as well as pool staff who can help if needed. You can stop at any moment, hold on to the lane dividers, or rest by edge of the pool when you reach the end of the lane. While swimming, you control your own speed, pace, and intensity of movement. At the same time, other people do not see your possible symptoms. No one will notice if you have a slight tremor in your body or any other signs of anxiety. In addition, water itself has natural calming properties. Being in the water, a person gradually begins to relax emotionally. Regular swimming helps improve metabolism, tone the muscles, and increase overall energy levels. After the pool, the body needs recovery. Many people develop a good appetite and feel like eating. This is also a positive point because with severe anxiety, appetite often decreases or disappears. Then muscular recovery takes place. After exercise, the muscles move into a phase of relaxation. Even in an anxious state, they still relax, and the person begins to feel lightness in the body and overall relief. Also, after swimming, there is a pleasant tightness. This state is different from the agitation that sometimes appears after intense gym workouts and can make it harder to fall asleep or recover. So, in this way, you improve metabolism, keep your muscles toned, and remain in a comfortable and safe environment for physical activity. And one more important advantage of swimming is that almost anyone can do this kind of sport. Even for people with knee injuries, arm injuries, or other health issues for which many types of physical exercise are contraindicated. Doctors often recommend swimming in particular. It is one of the safest and most beneficial types of sport for physical recovery, and it can be practiced at almost any age. But as I said, even with this sport, you can get the opposite effect, a worsening your condition and increased anxiety if you make these mistakes. The first mistake that will only make swimming worsen your condition. I learned about this mistake from one of my clients, to whom I sincerely recommended going to the pool and starting to exercise. She had very strong tension in her back and neck that made it difficult for her to fall asleep. At the same time, she had a sedentary job and she was already older. She was 60 years old. I told her that swimming would help a lot because if she had gone to the gym and started loading that group of muscles, she couldn't have made mistakes and even injured herself. But while swimming, the muscles of the neck and back start working gently and evenly, and the muscle tightness gradually goes away. However, after her first visit to the pool, she said that she felt bad there. I thought that was strange. How could a person feel bad in the pool from swimming, especially considering that she did not go there at the very beginning of our work when her anxiety was high and the symptoms were strong, but only later when the anxiety had noticeably decreased. The symptoms were less frequent and she reacted to them much more calmly. I started asking her what exactly she did, how she swam, and what happened during the process. It turned out that she came to the pool for the first time. All through before that, she had not gone there at all for several years. I turned out she had not been to a pool even once in the last 5 years. She came, got into her lane, and for 45 minutes started swimming the distances intensely, back and forth, and like that for all 45 minutes. She had that time available, and with maximum speed and effort, she started swimming one length for another. Of course, a body that was not ready for such a load reacted immediately. Her heartbeat shot up. She began to worry because of it, and after the pool, she felt bad because she had given her body too much strain. After that, she developed a fear that this would happen again if she went to the pool again. So the first mistake is that if you have come to the pool for the first time, your task is to start very calmly. The first time you can swim only 20 minutes, and even those 20 minutes can be done at a very easy pace, almost like a frog, or simply in whatever way you feel comfortable. You can swim in any rhythm, at any pace, and rest as much as you need, because just being in the water is already a workout. You step in the water, sit down, or start moving, and you have already begun loading your muscles. Any movement in the water happens with much greater resistance, so the muscles begin to work out under unusual conditions. Over time, they start adjusting to those conditions, adapting to the resistance of the water, and becoming stronger and more enduring. But if you come to the pool and immediately give yourself a heavy load, start swimming intensely as if you had been doing it for all your life, this will lead to your worsening of your condition. A sudden spike in heartbeat will happen. Imagine it. You immediately give a large load to all muscle groups. A body that is not used so much activity will react with a very strong pulse, increased blood pressure, and a strong heartbeat. This can scare you a lot. After that, you might develop the fear that if you go to the pool again, you will feel bad again. And as a result, because of one unsuccessful experience, you may completely close off the possibility of going to the pool again. The second mistake is going once a week or even less. The second mistake that may happen with going to the pool is inconsistency. For example, when you go once a week or even less often. Many people think that if I swim for 45 minutes once a week, then over time my well-being should improve. But in practice, you will get almost no effect because for the body, one workout a week is too little. By the time you come back to the pool a week later, your body has already had time to lose its adaptation to that load. That is the main problem. When we talk about developing physical condition and improving well-being, it is important for the muscles to adapt to the new loads. But if the load appears only once a week, then for the muscle it will be stress rather than development. If you start swimming regularly, for example 3 times a week or at least twice a week, the muscles gradually begin to understand that they are again and again ending up in an environment where more strength and endurance are required. The body starts perceiving this as a new part of life. A new regular activity appears, swimming, and then the body begins pushing the muscles to develop and adapt to those laws. Roughly speaking, your own body starts working to make swimming an easier process for you. It tries to make it possible for you to swim more easily, faster, and with more endurance. But this only happens when the body understands that swimming has become part of your life. But if you swim only once a week, the body perceives it not as a training but as a random, stressful situation. This can be compared to jogging. If a person suddenly decided to run several miles once a week, for the body that will be stress. But if a person begins to run regularly, even short distances, for example, every 2 or 3 days, the body gradually begins to adapt. It understands that this load may happen again in a few days, and it starts preparing for it. In other words, you regularly give the muscles the same physical impact, and they begin to respond to it. They adapt to these conditions and become stronger. But if you go to the pool only once a week, then what happens is that you simply create a stressful situation for the body. Over the course of a week, the muscles have already had time to lose their adaptation to that load. That is why regularly is the key here. If there is no regularity, the body perceives swimming not as a development, but as another stress that simply raises pulse and blood pressure. Therefore, it is important to remember, if you have started swimming, the most important thing is keep it regular, at least twice a week, but preferably 3 times. Even if the workouts themselves are short, regularity is what gives the body the signal that it needs to adapt to these loads. And each time the body will prepare itself better and better for swimming. You will feel better and better, and your body will gradually become more trained and more enduring. And the last, most serious mistake, which will only increase anxiety. The final and most important mistake when going to the pool happens when, together with the decision to start swimming, additional worries appear. This is completely normal. Whatever new sport you decided to try, whatever new activity you want to start, you will immediately begin noticing many anxiety-provoking situations connected with it. For example, you may worry about what people will think when you come to the pool and swim badly, or about how you will feel while swimming, and how you will feel afterward. Thoughts may appear such as, what if I cannot do it? What if my anxiety increases while I'm swimming? What if I feel bad? What if I have panic attack? So you begin to worry in a huge number of directions directly connected with swimming. And of course, if you simply decide, yes, this makes me anxious, but Pavel said I need to go swimming, so I will go, then you will arrive at the pool already in state of heightened anxiety. Because of the large numbers of worries, your anxiety level will be high from the very beginning. You will start swimming, feel some kind of heartbeat, get scared of it, get out of the pool and never return there again. This happens very often, and it applies not only to the pool but to any sport. If a person worries that they will feel bad there, then because of these very worries, they really can feel bad there, and after that they never go again. The same thing happens with cafes, airplanes, and any other places people begin to avoid after they once felt worth there. This is an absolutely normal mechanism. So in order for this not to happen with the pool and swimming, before going to the pool you need to write down all the worries connected with it. Each worry needs to be formulated as a separate anxiety-provoking event, and each such anxiety-provoking event needs to be worked through. In essence, every fear connected with going to the pool and starting to swim that exists in your mind need to be worked through before you go there. Because if you do not do this, you may feel bad during your visit to the pool and you will shut off the possibility of swimming for yourself. But if you work through all the anxious situation in advance, you will feel much calmer about the very idea of going and starting. When you do swim, an intermediate result may appear. Yes, it was a little anxious. Yes, there was a slight heartbeat, but overall everything went fine. And then this will open the door for you to come back to the pool again and again. After the first successful visit, most of the worries usually disappear. That is why the first trip to the pool is very important to work through in advance, so that you do not have strong anxious tension before going there. There is a ready-made method for this. You need to write down all your worries connected with going to the pool and swim using the ABC model. This is a model from cognitive behavioral psychotherapy. After that, each ABC model needs to be analyzed based on two rules of analysis. This is a fairly effective method that has already helped a huge number of people, and specifically to help you deal with your anxious situation. I recorded a free video course called 5 Steps. In it, I explain this whole method in detail, how to identify anxious situations, how to analyze them, and how to work with them. With the help of this video course, you will be able to apply this method to your own situation connected with going to the pool as well as to any other anxious worries. In this way, you will reduce your anxiety, start going to the pool, which will further reduce your level of anxiety and help improve your physical well-being. All of this will allow you to recover from anxiety disorder much faster. The link to the video course is in the description under this video. It is completely free, so go there, watch it and apply it. That is all for me. Bye everyone.